Hello, everybody. Welcome. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and thank you for being here. So today's class is really a treat for your lower body, a really nice therapeutic session for feet, ankles, lower legs, and all the way up into the knees as our main focus area once we get into it. So yeah, I recommend that you practice barefoot if that's possible, and it's a good idea to have something like a blanket and or a block or two, maybe two blocks if you can. This can just help you find more support, more ease in some of our poses. So we're going to start in a seated position, whatever that looks like for you, that also feels comfortable. So I prefer to sit up on a block so that my hips are at least as high as the knees. And if you sit in a cross-legged position, this will help the inner legs relax, and keeping your feet a little bit energized will also help support your knee. So whatever your comfortable seat is today, sit up tall. Breathe in through the nose and exhale, relax, and allow yourself to arrive in your seat. If you notice something that needs adjustment, notice that. And give yourself this time to just feel. How is it feeling in the physical body today? And especially beginning to deepen your breath and slow down your awareness. Letting your full attention just rest for a moment in the rise and fall of your natural breathing. So we're going to be exploring in the body, kind of scientific observers of what is happening in this moment, in this breath. I'm trying to let go of any judgment or any worry, really all of that kind of unhelpful, busy activity of the mind. And instead, let's see if we can practice a little bit more presence. Being fully here in your body, fully aware of whatever you're feeling, and then just pausing to rest in that observation for a while as you follow your natural breath. Always in through the nose, whenever that feels open and free. And feel free to breathe out the mouth if that helps you release any tension. Making sounds with the breath, a nice way to also kickstart that relaxation response. Perhaps closing your eyes for a moment and just allowing your full attention to rest in this body, in this moment, in this breath. And as you begin to relax more in your pose, the body relaxes, the breath relaxes, and the mind can begin to relax and slow down, allowing your focus to even soften and rest a little bit more easily on one place. So let's see if we can rest the attention, rest your awareness in this part of the lower body that we're going to focus on today. So redirecting your attention a little bit more down into the knees, the lower legs, the ankles, and the feet. And we'll start to slowly deepen the breath as you simultaneously see if you can open your awareness into these parts of the body. Nothing difficult yet. Definitely don't stress yourself out, especially if you're not really feeling a whole lot. Perhaps these areas are rather unsensitive right now, or maybe there's a strong sensation. But as long as you can notice what you notice and feel what you feel, then we could just allow the essence, the awareness that is you to balance it all out. Imagining what would it be like if these parts of the body could talk? What would it be like if you could notice every detail and every subtlety there? As again, you begin to deepen the breathing until you arrive at your fullest and still easy breath. And we'll just take 5 more deep breaths here. Take the time to fully release with each exhale. Use your inhales to, again, just expand, expanding your awareness inwards. And exhaling, softening, allowing your awareness to rest there as you observe. And on an inhale, if you like, bringing the arms overhead, and exhaling, hands to the center of the heart. Pausing for a moment to connect again inward with perhaps an intention for your practice, or even just a positive reminder of how wonderful you are, how lucky we are to be here. And then we'll come down to the floor and spread yourself out the length of your mat with your hips out, or your legs out as wide as your hips, and with the back of your foot, with the heel resting on the floor. Give your body a moment to adjust to this orientation, the feeling of how gravity lets you rest down across the whole body. And then we're gonna start to pulse the feet by using the heel as kind of a pivot point here, or if it's rather open and flexible, it might feel more like a wheel, like a pulley. Either way, this is a powerful movement that starts at the bottom of the body. So it really starts through your feet as you pulse through your ankles and the heels. And the goal here is to just get the whole body moving through the power of the feet. Do a little bit of pulling and pushing, of course, and then just see how it feels when the body is moved by your feet. This is a very atypical way for how we might move. So that can be very interesting to notice. How does that feel? And come to your maximum feeling here, maybe the biggest pulsing for one more breath, and then slow it down. Let it be easier and easier and easier. And then release all movement. And just take a moment again to notice and feel. And we're going to bend the knees and grab behind the knees. And you can rock your body here a little bit, just a gentle massage for the back. And you can also rock up and back to come up to a seat again. And you want to find, again, a comfortable seat. Now, for this next one, sitting on a block is a little bit too high for me, but sitting up on a blanket will actually let me sit easier and more stably. So we're going to come into what's like a fire log seat. So instead of the easy cross-legged position, I'm going to bring my ankles over my knees. And I'm going to flex my foot a little bit more here so that I can, again, support the knee. The knee does not like to rotate away from the direction of the foot. So instead, the toes and the knee more or less in one line. It's okay if it floats. It's also okay if you want to use another cushion to add a little bit more support for that upper knee. So we're going to start with whichever side is on top. That could be the right lower leg. And then you'll grab the opposite with the opposite hand. You're going to thread your fingers in between the toes and try to get all the way into the toes so that the webbing of your fingers is really meeting the webbing in between each toe. And you want your thumb to be on the outside of the big toe. And then you may want to use the same side hand to stabilize the heel, or you might want to let it be a little bit more open. I kind of like to try it first and then see. You can grab the heel, and we're just going to do some ankle rolls, but we're doing them in a very slow and supported way. And there may be some popping or cracking already. That's good. That is one of the ways that these tissues and all of the joints, because your feet are full of many little bones and all of the different connections between the tissues that support those. So there's a lot of opportunity for connections, sliding, and of course this maybe might feel a little bit stronger, a little popping or pulling. And then check out the second direction if you haven't already. Feel free to do a couple more in your first direction if you've already switched once. And then come back to neutral after the next breath. And we're going to try to just bring the fingers a little bit deeper into the space between the toes, into the webbing. So again, use your other hand if you need to really get the fingers all the way in between your toes as best as you can. And if this feels uncomfortable, that is good. That's what we want, but we don't want it to hurt. You never want to hurt yourself. So if you need to pause or take a break in any of the work that we're doing today, please listen to your body and do that. So again, try to sit up as tall as is easy to do so. Stable seat. And this time, do grab your heel with the same side foot. So I'm going to grab the back of the foot using my thumb finger. I want to hold the heel stable, and we're going to take this into a twist. So now I'm pushing the heel away in one direction as I use the palm of my opposite hand to twist the balls, twist the toes of the foot in the opposite direction, and then we'll switch. So now I'm lifting or pulling the heel up towards me as I twist the top, the front of the foot away. And we'll do that one more time in each direction. It's just a little bit of softening and lengthening through the foot, although it could feel like a lot of sensation already. And one more time. Great. And then just notice that one side might feel very different from the other. Pause for a moment in a neutral seat and observe. And then when you're ready, we'll bring the second leg on top. This side might be more difficult, or maybe you feel a lot more confident already, more at ease. That's good. So let's check out the fingers in between the toes and trying to get all the way down to the webbing of the foot. Sit up tall. And first, we'll just go through some circles. You can support your heel or not, but do your best again to lift your upper body through a stable seat. And just give the ankle, give the foot some rolls, some space. As again, you remember that feeling of awareness from before in your lower body. See if you can also redirect the awareness of your breathing down into your toes, your feet, and your ankle. Switching directions if you haven't already. And with all of this work, really listen to your body and move with your intuitions. You can also do more of anything that I invite you to try if that feels especially good. You notice one side needs it more. And as with anything, you can also leave it out, skip past it, or just take a break. All right. We'll try to get the hands, get the fingers as far as you can in between the toes again. A little bit of discomfort is what we want to find. That's a sign, especially that some of these more stiff tissues and maybe some tired or even overworked muscles are getting some attention, some tender loving care. And then stabilize your heel. So grab it with your same hand. I like to hold the thumb on the outside of the inner heel. Sorry, the thumb on the heel. And then we're going to twist the foot. So I'm turning the ball of the foot with my hand in the opposite direction of my heel as I twist it, and then twist in the other direction. Now lifting the heel up as I turn the sole of the foot down towards the floor. We'll do both sides again, both directions. And just notice if one side, one foot, has more resistance or more ease. Okay. Feel that again. That foot might feel a lot more alive. So let's see. A couple more things that are good for the feet. Now I'm going to show you this one from the side. It's just sitting in a comfortable seat with your feet engaged. So this way the edges of the feet are parallel to each other. The inside edge parallel to the outside, outside edges parallel to your mat. Sitting up tall, and then again pointing and flexing the feet. I like to keep my hands behind my back to help support the back to sit up nice and tall. You could also sit up on something or bend your knees a little bit. Oh, there's some feeling there. And release. Okay, now we're going to bend one knee and just begin to move the foot and the lower leg from the knee. Try to keep your knee stable, so it's not going to move very much, but I don't know if you can see it. If it looks very circular to you, this is my more difficult side, but I'm trying to make a very big oval. So it's a lot of up and down motion, but also a little bit of circular motion through the knee. Now again, there's no pain in the knee, no strain, but I do want to see what is the range of motion through the knee, even as I sit up a little bit taller. Ooh. And I'm just taking a few notes, a couple mental observations of where are those crunchy points, those stiff spots, and maybe even some tired spots. And then I'll try the second direction. This side might look more like a box for me, but the shape I want you to see if you can feel and see is more of an oval. So a lot of up and down as the knee flexes and opens. And then your toe kind of just relaxed, guiding it in a little bit of a circular motion. All right, set that foot down, come back to sitting up, long seat, long legs. And take a deep breath. And let's see what the second side is like. So holding below the knee here, and then just beginning to move your big toe in an oval by opening and flexing the knee. And that's a little bit hard to show in that direction, especially from the front as well. Very little opening to the sides, but it is there, and just a lot of movement. It should feel like easy movement through your knee. And then we'll try the second direction. Great. And come back to your long seat. And now we're going to try opening the legs a little bit more and making a circle through the toes as big as you can. Now, you can work 2 legs at a time if that feels manageable, but if you'd like, you could also focus on one side. You might want to side with the side where you can feel the circle more easily, or maybe the side, again, that is today a little bit more difficult. Be sure to check out your circles in both directions. Sitting up tall, breathing deep. And then you can always reverse and switch things up if you're working 2 at a time. Again, we just want to warm up the joints and a little bit the tissues around all of the bones in the ankle and the feet. There's a really special fluid that flows around there called synovial fluid, and it's a lot like a lubricant for your joints, and it helps keep the joints healthy. So just trying to feel in there and let things flow. Great. So now we're going to come into downward facing dog. So come orient yourself the long side of your mat. And this gives you a really great view of your feet. Again, you want to see the feet parallel, especially the outside edge of your foot, nice and parallel to the long edge of your mat. And the feet parallel to each other. Bend your knees a bit more. And then your knees are also parallel because they're following the line of your feet. So we have a really good view of the feet here in downward dog. And then we'll go ahead and lift onto the toes, the balls of the feet as well. Try to spread your toes, keep your weight on all sides, so the inside and the outside of the feet. And keep the feet parallel here, and then stretch the heels down to the ground. Now again, you can work 2 feet at a time. If that feels good, you're able to notice something interesting, or you may just want to lift up and bend one leg and see if you can keep, again, the sides of the foot, the outside and the insides of your foot parallel to each other and the length of the mat. So if you do work one side, when you switch sides, pause for a moment to notice how that feels, and take a couple mental notes. So here we're also beginning to strengthen a bit the arches that help support lift in the feet. Great. We're going to come forward into a standing forward bend. You just walk, maybe hop, and arrive with your feet on the floor, again, in that nice parallel orientation, hands on the ground. But if your hands don't easily touch the ground, first bend your knees. And if you like, you can also rest your hands on a block or something. That's a really nice way also to let the upper body relax. Spread your toes here. You can lift the toes up, but then relax the toes. Let them rest down and feel into your feet, the 4 corners of the feet, maybe even touch them with your hands.
And all four corners pushing down, even as you spread your toes, and squeeze your legs just a little bit inwards towards your center line. Bend the knees a little bit easier, so your hands really rest, your upper body rests. Maybe saying, with your breath. That feels good. Okay, we're gonna roll up slowly. Now make sure the knees are easy, so there's no locking your legs. And just roll up, taking your time. So your head and your neck are the last thing to come up. And we arrive in standing. So we will just do some very similar stuff what we've already done before, but now with a little bit of balancing. So if you need a wall, maybe come close to a wall for balance support. And begin again with ankle rolls on your first side. And then we'll pause and roll in the second direction. Now this side, this direction might be really easy for you. That's good. Or it might be already a little bit tougher than the last time you felt it. And that's great, actually, especially when we start to notice resistance, strain, perhaps a little bit of discomfort, or just tiredness. We're getting that perspective, getting that information about the body, and just having that and being mindful of how it feels, and your breath allows the body to do its natural restorative work. Do the second side when you're ready. So come to a balancing position on your other leg and just begin to roll through the ankle, leading with the toe. If you need a wall, you have a wall to help your balance. That's good. Or you could just rest your hands on your hips or even out wide. Doing about 8 or 9 rolls in each direction is a nice start. But again, you can also do more or less. You don't have to count, and just feel what feels good. And maybe even go back to that side that needs it a little bit more. Okay, adjust the angle here. And come to a mountain pose now, where you can see your feet. Placing the feet directly under the hips, so it's about 2 fists in between the balls of the big toes there. And then again, let's spread the toes. Push down through the corners of your feet, so that's the big toe ball, the little toe ball, and the outside, the inside of your heel. All 4 corners pushing down as you lift your toes up and breathe deep. So we're going to keep the toes up for a little bit. This is just to exaggerate a little bit. This is to feel the lift of the tissues on the bottom of your feet. So your legs will be very active here, even your lower abdomen active. If you feel below your belly button there, should feel very strong. Now let's see if we can keep that feeling of energy pulling up into the body, even as you relax your toes and spread them. So you want to be able to see in between the toes. You might see the color of your mat already. And then stand up tall and breathe deep. We're going to do that toe lifting again. It is a very artificial position. We would not really walk or move like that, but it can really help you feel into your roots, into the soles of your feet. So again, pushing down through the 4 corners of your feet, lift your toes and spread them, just like you might spread your fingers. Spread them as much as you can and push down through the 4 corners again, a little more. Pulling up through your feet, lifting up through the arches, all across the feet, the bottom of the feet, on the inside, the outside, even across the toes, spreading them out. A little bit of that transverse arch. And this time, let's see if we can spread or relax the toes down as slow as you can, maybe even 1 at a time. Now see if you can keep that lifting, and when we do that toe lift, the medial arch, so that inner, biggest arch of the inside of the foot, and even the outside of the foot and its smaller arch lifts up. Feel free to repeat that anytime you notice your feet might be getting a little tired, or especially if you start to move into this direction. So now X legs, or knock knees as they call it, each spine in German. Or you might stand a little bit more with that kind of cowboy posture, big O in between your legs. And let's see if we can stand up a little bit taller, a little easier, with your hips right above your knees, right above your feet. Spread your toes, breathe deep, and go ahead and close your eyes for a moment. And just begin to shift your weight forward and back a little bit. It's okay if you lose your balance or if you need to take a step, but see if you can be aware of your center of gravity and moving that center forward and back as you notice what happens throughout your feet. Again, all of those little bones and interconnections allow our feet to move and move us in so many ways. So let's see if we can just, again, get a little bit more awareness of what's going on in your feet. Let the movement reach its maximum. Could even rock a little bit side to side, but now start to slow the movement down. Still there, but becoming more subtle. So you shift your weight forward and back, moving a little bit easier, and then rest. Okay, good job. You got through the warm up here, and now we're gonna get into some pretty deep stretches. So this first one is for the bottom of the feet. I'll show you from the side first, and then right behind me. You're gonna come down onto your knees, and we're going to dig the toes into the ground, the bottom of the toes, and also the balls of the feet. So it's a little bit like this action. You're not just resting here, you're actually gonna engage the bottom of the feet. Now, really important here, if you have any discomfort already in the knees, make your knees more comfortable. You can take a blanket for underneath your knees. You could also fold your mat. And as before, notice where your knees are in relation to your feet. So the feet, we want to bring them parallel. You might need to look back to make sure that the feet stay parallel. And then the knees are right on that same parallel line through the middle of the foot. Now I have to use my fingers to get the little toe to touch the ground, but I'm gonna wanna stretch through the bottom of the whole foot. And we're gonna be here for about another minute and 15 seconds. So you may already need a pause and a little break. You can also point the toes to take that release, and then come back to it for the second minute. So we want to hold these stretches for the connective tissue of the body for a little bit longer than we would just stretch a muscle. And we also need to move very mindful when we're working with these tissues, as they are a really important support system for all of the muscles and the way you hold your body. So they're a little bit stronger, but also often stiffer. Fascia, the connective tissue, requires perhaps more attention and certainly more time. So breathe into any part of the body where you're feeling that strong sensation. Just make sure your feet stay in alignment with your knees, and you can pause and take a break anytime you need to. But rather than overreacting to sensation, see if you can slow down the breath, breathe a little deeper, and really notice how that feels. Just a little bit more patience, a little bit more calm observation. We're going to be here for 3 more breaths, so if you like, you can distract yourself just a little bit, raising the arms on an inhale, and then exhaling, bringing the hands through center, releasing with the breath. A couple more breaths perhaps settling more into stillness if you're able to, or moving a little bit through another part of the body as you send your breath, send your awareness again down into your ankles and your feet. Whew, wonderful. That one usually feels like a lot. It might be our biggest stretch, or maybe it's going to be one more a little bit later. But we'll take a quick pause here for self-massage. One of my favorite things to do, and it's really nice to do after stretching the bottom of the feet and before we stretch the top side, the front side of the legs and feet. So it's really simple, but you might want to sit on a block if that helps you sit easier. We're literally just going to squeeze the lower leg, squeezing the calf muscle. You can use your hands, you can use the palms. If you use the fingers, just make sure you're not hurting anything. You're not trying to dig very deep here. All you want to do is touch your muscles in a mindful way. Touch the tissues, maybe even noticing that shin bone. And especially if you have a lot of sensitivity here on the front side of your leg, the shin, then the next couple stretches and exercises we do are going to be really good for you. And this part of the body, the front of the lower leg, is often overworked. As often also maybe our calf muscles might be a little bit too strong, too tight, and really pulling or not fully supporting or doing their work. It depends on what you're feeling. And again, we just want to take that time to noticing what you're feeling will actually help you be more empowered to help your body. So you give yourself that time and that attention, give yourself that tender, loving care. Noticing what you're feeling, and your body will do the good work for you. Okay, we'll also maybe massage the tops of the feet. You can just use your fingers like a rake a little bit, or like a little massage rake, I guess is what I have in mind. And try to get in between the toes again, but this time just adding a little bit of pressure on the top side of the foot. Nothing crazy. Rubbing around the ankles will also stimulate these areas, promoting circulation through the ankle and around the knee. Good job. Okay, second side. So sit up tall again, lifting your upper body by resting down through both of your sitting bones. And then just give the lower leg a nice massage. And feel free to be spontaneous with it, to be playful with it, or maybe if it is requiring more pressure, more attention, maybe just a little bit more time on this side, you could also take it a little easier, go a little bit more carefully if that's what you need. So again, just use this opportunity to have a conversation with your body, to understand yourself a little bit better, connecting with what you are feeling. And once you've connected with that, again, see if you can stay connected to your natural breath. If there are any extra sensitive spots, that's a good sign to give that more time. And once everything feels pretty good, we've had a little bit of fun with it, feel free to rub a bit around the big joints, the knees, the ankles, maybe even squeezing the heel. Not a lot of tissue there, so be careful, maybe very sensitive. And then this nice raking action, a little bit of pressure on the top side of the feet, but in particular, get in between the toes. We're not really wanting to press too hard on the tendons, but more of that space in between the toes and raking that back towards the ankle. Super. Okay, so we're gonna come up to standing. You can do this by crossing your ankles, pulling into your middle, and then just coming up and taking a stand. Notice again how you stand and how you feel, especially in your lower legs. So I'm going to show you from the side first. Now that we stretch the bottom of the feet and release a little bit the calves and maybe the shins, we're going to stretch the front side of the lower leg from the knee down to the toes. So you're going to put the toe side, now this is the nail side of the toes, down into the ground, and you must engage again. So muscularly, energetically, I'm activating the leg down, push the foot down, and then only energetically pulling forward. You'll notice there's no movement. So if I don't push down, the foot will slide, and I don't want that. So again, standing tall on my standing leg, I'll push the foot down, and this is called an isometric engagement. So the muscles now are engaging, they're even pulling in towards the bone as I energetically pull my back leg forward. You can keep your arms on your hips for balance or out wide, or if you want, you can lift your arms all the way up, really opening the whole front side of the body here. And if I look down at that foot again, I'm engaging all 5 toes, this time the front side, pushing down, pulling forward, lift your chin, lift up, and then exhale, release. Whew, that one is a lot for me. So I tend to stay there a long time, as it feels very interesting, but again, please listen, give yourself the time you need. So second side, I'll try to show you from the back as well. Side's a little more challenging for me for balance, but the ankle on this side also usually feels a little bit looser. So that's an interesting mix. Let's take the time again to notice what that feels like. Push the bottom of the foot, the top side of the foot down, even the little toe, you want that pushing down as your heel, your ankle points straight up. And keep the hands on the hips for balance, maybe extending the arms or even lifting them all the way up. And we're just going to stay here for a few breaths. If you're really feeling a big opening through the front of the ankle, if it feels very warm already, that's good. Again, see if you can calm that feeling down by just noticing it a little bit more neutrally. Perhaps sending a little bit more attention, and deep breath. One more inhale, reaching down through your standing leg and the front of the back leg, and then exhale, release. Feel free to shake that out, move it, maybe some circles again, or even go back to that massage if that's what feels good, if that's what you need. So for this next one, we're actually going to want to you can roll your mat, so you could come down and as tightly as you can, make a nice tube with your mat. So you're just rolling it until you get it fairly tight. But if you have a blanket, the blanket's just a little bit more tightly woven, and especially for people who have a lot of tension on the bottom side of the foot, the plantar side of the foot. So conditions like plantar fasciitis, any inflammation or pain when you're walking is often associated with that, then you might want a little bit more of a tighter roll, or you might need also a smaller roll, just depending on what you feel. And have a block, point in this direction for you. Have a block close to you. You may want that. Let me see if I can show you the roll a little better. Great. So you want to place the balls of the feet on the roll or on the mat, and your toes will just roll forward beyond that. I'll show you also from the side. Balls of the feet of both feet, spread the toes. Ooh, that's actually a little bit big for me today. So you can unroll the mat or the blanket, and you want your heels on the floor. So only the balls of the feet are resting on your roll. The toes reach over, relax, and you want to get your hands down onto the floor. So maybe this angle will be best. So if you want to use a block, you have that block available. And again, we're going to feel, breathe deep, and repeat. At first, Just notice that parallel alignment again. Notice the even pressure through all four corners of your feet. The big toe base, the little toe base, the outside, the inside of your heel. All four corners are pushing down, even as you spread the toes and relax them. And then you can inhale and lengthen your back. And then exhale and fold a little bit easier, perhaps a little deeper. Now, again, please try to get your hands on something. If you need that extra height, you have it. We want, again, to support the forward bend here. So we're going to activate the legs a little bit more. Spread your toes again. But make sure your feet stay parallel and your knees always in the center of your ankle and your foot. Lift your back. So long back here as your heart reaches forward, your tail reaches back, and then exhale, folding in, perhaps just a little bit softer. Keeping the hands on the ground will help make sure we're not stressing the upper body. Instead, we try to support it a little bit more, grounding through the legs, lower legs and the feet. Lengthening your back again one more time, pull the belly in, keep your shoulders away from your ears, and then exhale a little bit more forward bend. I'm just going to take a couple more breaths here. Really taking the time to notice what you feel, but also noticing how that changes with the next breath. And then at first, we'll just walk off of the roll, staying in a forward bend with your feet now flat on the floor. The knees bent, nice and easy, parallel, and then bring your hands to the hips. Notice the elbows usually fall open here. Instead, lift your elbows up to the sky, shoulders into your back. Inhale, come up. Exhale, stand tall in your mountain. Whew, good job. So the great news is that is pretty much the end of our big stretches for the feet, for the lower body. Wonderful news is now we get to do a little bit more strengthening work to support healthy ankles, feet, and knees. Okay, and try like this. No, actually, I think you need a bit more view of the feet and ankles here. So these are very simple strengtheners, sometimes helpful to do in front of a mirror or a big window if you have that. Start with your feet parallel, hip distance apart, and then as slowly as you can, come up. And again, as slowly as you can with your exhale, come down. Same thing we've been doing the whole class. Knees parallel, feet parallel. Always noticing that relationship will help your body do its natural best work, its easy support. And then we're going to get the challenge of this next exercise by really slowing down and moving with the breath. So we're lowering the foot down, stretching the back of the leg, release. And then inhale again, pulling into your center with your core, with your inner legs, but keeping the legs parallel and lifting up. And again, one more time, real slow, like you were using a rope to lower the back of your feet down on a little wheel, and just slowly rolls, and then release. Okay, good job. Feel free to do some more of those. Doing repetitions of this work. Also a really great way to support the body. And then come up when you're ready, onto the toes, onto the balls of the feet, and really important here that your knees stay parallel. Feet are parallel. Keep the knees in alignment with your feet. And you might want to rest your hands on your hips or maybe out wide. We're going to come down by bending the knees. And we're going to come down all the way if that's possible, but we're going to keep the knees parallel no matter what. So inhale, pulling into your center, come on up. Stay on your toes. Whoa, some wobbling is good, actually. It's really good information about your balance. And then bend the knees. Keep your knees parallel, feet parallel. This is a really good exercise for strong ankles and knees and feet. Let's see if we can do one more. So pull into your center, standing up tall, spreading the toes here maybe a little bit more. Keep those feet and knees parallel and in alignment, and then come on down. Nice. And then come back up. Slowly, slowly, woo, release. I don't know about you, but my legs are letting me know how they feel. They're pretty tired here, especially on the outside of the calf. So some massage might actually be the best thing, or even just taking an easy seat and a little bit of massage. And take a deep breath. Great. So we're gonna come one more time into that position we've been before, basically a forward bend. And I'll show you from the side first. Again, you want your fingers on the floor. And you want all four corners of your feet engaged. Knee in the middle of your ankle and foot. So with your fingers on the floor, we can start to lengthen the legs, not by pushing the knees, but rather lifting your seat up. Do this with your hands on something. As you inhale, lift the inside of your inner legs up, your inner thighs up, and then exhale, come into a bent knee position, but your knees still stay parallel. That's really important. Feet parallel, knees parallel, hands on the floor, and as you inhale, lengthen your legs, lift your seat up. Exhale, bend through your knees, but the knees stay parallel. Now, if your knees fall in like an X, or they open out wide, then this is too much. This is straining the joints in a way that does not feel good. So take it a little bit easier. Stay humble. Stay with your breath. You can also try inhaling in this bent knee pose to lengthen the back, and then exhale to soften into that forward bend. You can use the breath in almost any way here. Really just take that time to notice how it feels and enjoy your breath. You might stay in one of the variations with now a full lengthened leg in a standing forward bend. And you might come into a very active chair if that's what the body wants here. Belly engaged, legs strong, reach long through the back, and then exhale, fold all the way. Now one more time, we'll come up with the hands on the hips, elbows pointing up. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, breathe deep, and notice how you feel. Okay, I'm just gonna do one more lunge. So coming to one edge of the small line of your mat. Inhale, reach up, and then exhale, fold forward. So lengthen your back here, and on your exhale, step your first leg back into a lunge. Now I want you to be able to see the back foot, and as I inhale, I'm pulling that back leg, the back foot into the body, and exhale, stretching that foot back. So it's the sole of the foot, the inside of the leg, as I inhale, pulling the leg and the leg bone up into the body. Exhale, stretching through the heel, stretching back through the bottom of the foot. As you inhale, actually both legs are activating towards your midline, towards your center, towards your hip. And as you exhale, stretch through that back leg. Inhale. Energize the legs, pull them into the body, lengthen the back, and then exhale, stretch the backside of the leg, feel good, and then we'll switch. Inhale for length, and exhale, step that second leg back. Noticing again, the alignment has not changed. All four corners of the foot reaching down, the knee in the middle of the ankle and foot, and then just doing a little bit more feeling work, which is a very healing type of work, just by noticing and noticing your breath. So you can try to feel as strongly as you can breathe deeply and freely. Again, reconnecting to that which you first felt, reconnecting to your breath here. Nice, and then step forward, inhale, and exhale, fold forward, forward bend. And coming down for our final asana, final pose here for especially now the knees, and then down into the feet. So this is Virasana, kind of a warrior's seat here, or a Z pose, a lightning pose. And I really recommend you sit on something. This could be a block or a pillow, maybe a combination of those things, or just a blanket. Roll it up as big as you can for this one, because we're going to come sit between the feet. But other than that, nothing's really going to change from before. So I'll show you from the back as well. The knees are right underneath the hips, and the feet, again, parallel, knees in the middle line of the foot. And I'm going to spread the toes, clicking the toes down as I point the feet away from the knees. And if you have a block, you can use the block to push on the back of your calf. You can also just do this with your hand or a fist, but do not twist the calf. Do not torque or turn through the knee. The knee does not like to twist like that. And we're going to go into full flexion of the knee. So this is going to be a very deep stretch of our knees. So if this causes any pain, of course, you don't do it. But there are also some ways to add a little bit more support. You can sit up on several things, sitting a little bit higher, or even putting a blanket behind your knees so that you don't go into the fullest flexion. And if you push down on the muscle of the lower leg, pushing on the calf will open a little bit more room in the front of the knee, in the meniscus. I'll show you with the block first, between the feet. And then notice your knees. So that's going to be the guideline. Lengthen your upper body and then activate your feet down as you start to come sit back between your feet. Now, if your knees start to collapse in, or maybe it's out, that's too much. You need to sit up a little bit higher, perhaps. But keep your legs, or keep your feet active, the ankles active, and then come sit in between your feet at some height. What is not changing here is the alignment of the ankle and the knees. We're staying parallel here. The feet are a tiny bit more open than the knees because we're ultimately sitting back in between the feet. But the center of the hip bone through the center of the knee goes all the way through the center line of your foot. See if you want to spread your toes a bit here. You can use your fingers for that. Whew. And then sit up again nice and tall. Activating your breath here, lifting your upper body with the breath. And then exhale, seeing if you can settle down into this seat. Virasana. Now, as before, if you need a little bit more break here, a little bit less time, you could come out, you could stretch the leg again, doing a little bit of that calf stretch again, and then just notice if you feel ready, when you feel ready, coming back. Now, especially those of you who are very flexible and maybe you practice a lot of poses like this, with time you might find you're able to sit back in between your feet all the way where your sitting bones can easily touch the ground. But if that's not the case, if your knees are starting to twist in or out, then it's really going to be much healthier for the knees to put a little bit of support underneath your seat and sit up a little bit taller, a little bit more. Deep, easy breath. Engaging the feet, just gently spreading the toes, the ankles pulling into the body to stay in line with the knees. Last couple breaths. Wonderful. So when you're ready, you might use your hands to help yourself up and even stretch the legs. Just a simple stretch, one leg at a time might be the best way to maybe move through the ankle a little bit, maybe all the way back to downward dog if that's feeling like the feeling you need. So eventually we're gonna come all the way down again to the back and just rest for a moment on your back. You could start with your knees bent and your feet on the ground. Maybe spread your seat so your hips are nice and wide. And allow your whole body to say, into the ground. If your back feels good, feel free to lengthen the legs. Leave a little bit of room in between your feet, at least hip distance here. And if possible, let the feet fall open to the sides. As you place your arms by your sides with the hands facing up, the back of the head on the ground, and the neck is nice and long. So by taking the time at the end of a practice to rest here in Shavasana, a final resting pose, you allow your body to do that really important work of feeling, but also remembering and integrating that new information, that new flexibility and strength, all of that new energy and information settling, turning inwards. So as you allow yourself to rest here, notice your natural breath. And with every exhalation, see if there's still any tension, any resistance you're holding on to. See if you can just imagine it dissolving with your breath. With every exhalation, allowing the whole body to rest a little heavier. With every inhalation, feeling your body. And again, especially feeling into the lower body, into your legs, the knees, calves and shins. Feel through your entire ankle, through the feet, and into each and every one of your toes. Again, notice what you can notice. And see if you can just enjoy a little bit more what you feel. Once you've finished scanning your body, then allow your full attention to rest in the rise and fall of your natural breath. If you feel like resting a bit more, please feel free to do so. And if it feels right, and when you feel ready, start to deepen your breathing. Slowly start to bring movement back to your physical body. Wiggling your feet and legs, opening the hands and stretching or twisting or even just opening a little bit with the breath. When you're ready, bend your knees and give yourself a big hug, squeezing your legs. And finish by rolling to your side. Resting for a moment on your side with your arm underneath your head for the support. And as you feel ready, use your hands and help yourself up. Once again, into any stable and comfortable seat. Give yourself a moment to find your seat. Perhaps opening up the sitting bones so you can sit up a little bit easier, a little taller. And finish right where we started, turning your attention inwards one more time. Giving yourself a moment to notice the overall effects of your practice. Notice how you feel. And notice your beautiful breath. And inhale, you can bring the arms overhead. And exhale, hands to the center of the heart. And lift your heart. And bow your head to that heart. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your practice. Namaste. Thanks again, everyone.